In this episode of Travelogue, we'll take you to Crete, the largest and one of the most famous of the Greek islands, and home to one of Europe's oldest civilizations, the Minoan. Greece proudly sits at the crossroads of three continents: Asia, Africa, and Europe.
If you want to see clear skies, blue waters, and smell the amazingly fresh air, Crete is the best place to be, even in the winter time. And you know, besides its beauty, Crete is also known for its unique local culture. It revolves around wine, around olives, and around the hospitality you can feel everywhere in the small towns of Crete. And besides that, there's also an important historical culture, the Minoan Civilization. But you know, if you want to see all of this, don't just listen to me babble on and on. You gotta come here yourself. Heraklion is usually the first stop for travelers because it is 5 kilometers from the Minoan Palace of Knossos. Few written records remain of ancient Minoan society, and many of them are written in an undecipherable script. Opinions differ surrounding the Minoans' origin and the cause of their final disappearance. Knossos is the oldest and largest Minoan palace, and the location here is key. You have easy access to the sea, abundance of natural resources, and you see the mountains over there form natural protection. However, they underestimated one important thing: the presence of earthquakes, a lot of them. And thus the palace was often destroyed and rebuilt, destroyed and rebuilt again and again. The Minoan Civilization is named after King Minos, one of Zeus's sons. The Minoans are suspected to be Asian peoples who reached their height around 1600 BC. Most of what we know about them is through their ruins. Although there are numerous fires in the area, the new palaces that were built upon the ruins of the old ones became even more magnificent. The new palaces were multi-storied and very complex. The royal living quarters had thrones, bathrooms, courtyards, workshops, and a water supply. Here was the king's grand hall with a throne. This is a place full of glory, luxurious, and fit for royalty. The area by the palace is rich in natural resources, like this alabaster crystal. And now alabaster was used primarily here for construction of the palace. It sort of shines under the light. Unfortunately, alabaster is not as strong as marble, and thus after the earthquakes and the pursuing fires, the olive oil jars tipped over and resulted in a lot of destruction. We can see some of that destruction on the walls. The Palace of Knossos burned down a number of times in history. The presence of olive oil storage jars made things worse. However, the final disappearance of the Minoan civilization is still a mystery. Some say the fire was caused by a volcano or earthquake on a neighboring island. Others say it was the conquest by Mycenaeans. This still remains a puzzle. You know, in gymnastics, people usually flip over the horse, but the Minoans were a bit more daring. This depicts an ancient sacred sport. Here you see the person flipping over a bull. The 3 people reflect the movement of one person as they slide on over. And a lot of people now in some other countries still practice this sport. One of the more remarkable discoveries at Knossos was the extensive murals that decorated the walls. These frescoes bring us closer to the souls of the Minoans and portrayed a society who had a developed trading system and peaceful nature. They depicted men and women engaging in everyday activities, like the athletic competitions you saw. That's the end of that piece. And here I am sitting in the oldest theater in Europe. It's not a theater in the Greek theater sense, not for comedies, tragedies, and plays, but rather for musical performances or dance performances, even religious services. And you know, most people in the audience sat along these blocks over here, but there's also a special block just for the royalty right back there, up high. And running along the theater, we can find the oldest road in Europe, which is down here. "80 kilometers to the east of Heraklion is Rethymno, still on the north coast. There is a beautiful Venetian harbor, but also with seemingly untouched small villages on the side. It was during the Venetian occupation from 1204 to 1669 that Rethymno became a city, because the conquerors needed an intermediary port for ships going from Heraklion to Hania, the two big cities in Crete. It combines the oriental features of the Turkish period with Renaissance-style Venetian architecture. The main feature of the Turkish style is the heavy use of wood. In Rethymnon, the Turks made full use of the existing Venetian public and private buildings, which they modified according to their own needs. The things you see in this town are a mix of different cultures. There's things that are Turkish and something like this, a fountain that's clearly Venetian. And although these things all date back to long, long ago, there are new additions that make it modern in some ways. Although I can't pinpoint the name of this style exactly, it's clearly Cretan. Here, I stayed at the home of a local named Katerina, who is also the owner of a restaurant, lounge, apartment, bar.
Hi.
Hi!
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
Nice to be with us. Please.
Wow.
This is Avli. Avli in Greek means yard.
Yard.
It means a garden. And you are in a garden that it starts to be built the 13th century and it was finished the 15th century.
Wow.
Maybe you could have a look and you could see the different styles that they are mixed. We have Turkish, we have Venetians, influence, and it's a Cretan house.
And is that typical of many of the buildings here in this town?
It is. All the stonewood houses, they are very typical of our period and of our land. Please.
Thank you. Oh, it's so warm in here. It's quite a unique place you have. The Cretan House is a typical Venetian Turkish blend. The arches here help to accentuate the beauty and the strength. It prevents the people from the weather as well. During the summer, it's chilly, and in the winter, it's hot because it's very thick and keeps the temperature inside stable. Is this like a refrigerator? Walk-in refrigerator? Yes. Oh, it's cool with the blue lights. This is all
The blue lights is not to hurt the wines because they are very sensitive in light, and also they are very sensitive in noise. So you have to keep them quiet and dark, and in nice temperature.
So what makes wine such an important part of the Cretan culture?
In Crete and in Greece, the wine it's a part of our culture, it's a part of our social and economical life, and also it's a part of our tradition. With the wine, we are making friends. With the wine, we are speaking and we exchange our feelings. With the wine, we celebrate something. Also, the wine is very important for Greeks, the same as the olive oil and the wheat, because our life was based on that.
Luckily, at Katerina's place that night, 4 of the best Cretan wine producers would join us for dinner and present to us their top wines. Nikos Douloufakis, Kostas Galanis, Maria Tamiolaki, Georgios Lirakis. 4 people, 4 of the best varieties of wine in Crete. At the table are cheese, olives, and olive oil, and the centerpiece being the wine. All that, and you just might get drunk. Drunk from joy, that is. In Crete, when people want to invite you over, they don't say, come on over to my place. They don't say, let's have dinner. Instead, what they do say is, let's have a glass of wine. I guess that shows the importance that wine plays in people's lives. Just like Chinese people have rice, the Italians have pasta, the Greeks here have this. So here I am, ready for a glass of wine. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Yasu. 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 The first traces of wine production in Greece were found in Crete in the middle of the 3rd century BC. And for over 4,000 years, wine has been an important part of Greek culture. For the ancient Greeks, wine culture was represented by the god of wine, Dionysus. The son of Zeus and Semele, Dionysus was one of the most worshipped of the Greek gods, inspiring artists,